Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. You have to excuse the scruffy expression, but the reason for that is the main sort of subject for today's Sunday Orchid chat. And today's Sunday Orchid chat is why it's everybody else's fault and not your fault. Or to be more precise in this case, why it's not my fault and it is somebody else's fault. Everything today is somebody else's fault, not mine. Right, first things first, that is somebody else's fault, yeah? It is now so late in the day, we've got past coffee time, and it's fast approaching wine time, and I've had a huge gap in the day that I don't normally have when I didn't have access to coffee, or didn't have easy access to coffee. Now, that's somebody's fault, yeah? That's not my fault. What else? I got up late. I'll have that one, that's my fault. But it followed a disturbed night, so I didn't get a good night's sleep. I had chunks of sleep, which is never as good as one continuous session, as we all know. So I got up a bit later than normal, but I wouldn't say I've had a proper night's sleep. But I've had enough, you know. What have I got to do today? Next to nothing. Right, what else is not my fault today? Yesterday, I looked at my notes and I thought, I need to water my cooler, shadier plants today. They've gone this long and we've had a succession of hot days. So, you know, I've shut the kit off now. It was all on earlier. See, now I've had to shut all the kit off. That's not my fault, that's your fault. It's going to be one of them days. What else? So I looked at my notes and I thought I need to water that lot. And actually I probably need to water the other pots as well, because their gap between their watering is getting shorter with the slightly longer days. Each day's getting longer, and we've just had this continuous warm weather. That's somebody else's fault as well. So I then decided I've got to water all my pots, and the scheduled watering yesterday that was a day late was the holy clay pot, so we've now got to include those as well. And strictly speaking, the amount should be daily. Occasionally I'll get away with every other day, purely because the hydrofog is on all day long practically at the moment. It's just like a flipping fog in here a lot of the time. So yesterday I decided I needed to water everything, and I didn't have that amount of energy. That would have taken 3-4 hours. Okay, it's not continuous, but you know, it would have been on and off with a little gap here and there. So I changed my mind. Let's see if this is okay. Oh yeah, not bad. Ooh, not brilliant either. See, the wine, my normal wine comes with my home shop. I can't have a home shop now because everybody else has taken all the slots, so that's somebody else's fault. And the wine I normally get with my home shop doesn't cost me that much, and I like it. And it's a lightweight wine. It's a red wine, but it's only 12%, so it's a lightweight wine. Yeah. Whereas some of the other stuff you get is 13.5, 14, even 14.5. Some of the reds nowadays. So I'm having to buy my wine from a different place, and it's a lot more expensive. So I'm having to pay more for it, and certainly in the case of that bottle, it's not as nice. It'll do. Right, so this is what we do when we get either lazy or we haven't got time. Now I'm sorry about this, but there's a lot of people can't do this. If you've got anything remotely looking like a home or a carpet or furnishings, you can't do this. But I'm in a position where I can. So yesterday, everything got watered with the sprayer. Pots, mounts, the lot. The place was dripping wet, and so was I, because I'd walked under some of the mounts after they'd been done. We will do that slightly differently today, and the mounts that are somewhere where I need to be will be the last thing to get watered so that I can get out of the way. But this gadget here, it's quite a large sprayer. It holds 5 litres. When it's full it weighs a bit, obviously 5 litres. it pressurizes really fast, because a lot of the larger sprayers you end up spending half a day pumping the flipping things up and they last 10 seconds and you've got to do it again. This one will last well. I don't know what that had, a dozen pumps. And then height of laziness. Some of this water is going to drip on my table here, don't care, in this heat it's going to dry quickly. Now, this is the lazy man's watering technique, which I can do on occasions. If I water my plants like this every day, the first thing that's going to happen is eventually I'm going to have to put some feed in the water. Yeah? Well, yesterday they just had water. What are they getting today? Just water. I'm dripping all over the place, it'll dry. The fans are going to go back on in a minute. So, you know, I haven't touched a plant yet. Downside, if you use a sprayer, you don't pick your plant up. You don't pick your plant up, you don't notice problems. Those problems can include bacterial type of rots that in a couple of days will take your plant down, outbreak of bugs, yeah? And especially if you're chucking water all over a plant high up and you've got bugs, you'll wash some of them off. Brilliant. Where will they go? On the plant down below. So you've just spread your bugs round. Yeah? So there are downsides. Right, why is everything somebody else's fault today? Because I've decided to make it so. Simple as that. Our roots on that Vanda are going absolutely mad. There's little new root growths coming out of all the old roots, so it's going mad. Probably do better if it had some feed, but that's going to wait till tomorrow now. This is the only thing I have to watch when I'm spraying. I don't care about water on the plants, not in these temperatures, but I've got to watch the electrics. Really watch the electrics, because you end up looking at what you're spraying at, not what's on the far side of what you're spraying. So it's very easy to get water on stuff. Now, I don't know whether you'll be able to see this. On my hanging racks, like if you take this rack, I've got some plants this side and some plants on that side, which here is fine. But on that rack there are some on the far side. Now I've got to get in here somehow. I managed it yesterday without swearing too much, but I've got to climb in there, right in under here, to be able to point the sprayer backwards and get it all over my glasses and everything else. But the theory is I might not get all of the roots, they might not get a proper watering, but some water is better than no water. And 2 or 3 waterings consecutively with plain water is better than no water. Might be better if they had some feed. But, you know, I'm replicating a rainfall here. The only thing I'm not replicating is the runoff down through the trees, which would collect a few nutrients, but emphasis on the few, not too much. So this is a very gentle way of going about watering in here. As I said, if you've got your plants growing in your home, you haven't got this luxury. And if I do this all the time, my plants will start eventually to go downhill. Now, what I said about water on the plants, I don't care about. Water with feed in, I might care about. Because there's the old saying, oh, don't get water on your leaves if the sun comes out, because it will burn spots on the leaves, because it works like a magnifying glass. Yes and no. If that happened with clean water, every plant in the outside world would be covered in burn marks, wouldn't it? Because how many times have you seen a shower followed by the sun comes out straight away? Are all the outdoor plants burnt with little spots? No. Why? Because that's clean rainwater. You put feed in it, it's a different matter altogether, because now you're shining the sun through a chemical in the water, or set of chemicals. And I'm not going to say definitely that that would leave burn marks, but I can't say that it doesn't, whereas I can say it doesn't with clean water. Now, a couple of pots are going to get some water as well as I go past them, because I know they dry quickly, they're actively growing, and in some cases, if you spray your pots, if you've got, like me, I've got clear pots inside a black pot. If I don't get that pot out, I don't know how much water that pot's had. I might have just got the top ½ inch of the media wet and the rest of the pot's still bone dry. If I don't see it running out the bottom, I don't know how much the pot's got. But I do know that I've got some pots that are drying fast enough that I could probably get away with watering them every day. And those are the ones that are getting the extra today, even though they had some yesterday. Right, nothing down here needs any. I've got a Masdevallia ignea with a bud that's starting to show some colour. So we will have an ignea bloom soon. It's not up on the high shelf anymore, not in the amount of light and the temperatures we're getting. I've decided that the highlight experiment for the ignea has done its job. I've managed to get a bud. I'm happy now. So I've taken it away from the highlight and put it back in still in quite a bright light area, but not as bright. I can do my Spanish moss while I'm there. It usually gets forgotten. But this is just a way of getting round in the grow room. Right, just as a matter of interest, that was 10 pumps. Let's see how long it lasts. It really is. I didn't look it up or check the reviews on which was the best sprayer to get. I just got the first one that was the right size, that sounded okay, and had a handle. A couple of items I decided I wanted if I was going to get a sprayer, but I didn't go into it. You know, it's only a few quid at the end of the day. Not like a new telly or anything, because that I did spend a lot of time looking up, checking reviews and all that sort of stuff, as you do when you spend lots of money. But yeah, going on to why everything's somebody else's fault today. It's for a really nice reason. This is not something I expect people to take up, because it'll get blocked otherwise, but obviously my Facebook group is a different thing to a Facebook ordinary account. You know, as an ordinary person you open a Facebook account, don't you? And it's for family and friends and stuff like that. My Facebook group serves a different purpose, because that is there for a group of people to get together. Yeah, it's a different type of Facebook area. But on your family and friends stuff, some of the Orchid people, not many, but a few, are actually in the family and friends Facebook area as well. And I'm trying to get elected onto the Bournemouth Orchid Society committee, which without any meetings is proving a problem, because I have to get a proposer and a seconder. Yeah, well, we're not meeting. So how do we do that then? Your normal Orchid Society members, you haven't got all their contact details, have you? You see them at the meetings. Yeah? Well, we're not having any meetings, so I'm not seeing them. But a couple, well, one in particular, was actually on the friends part of the Facebook thing. So I sent a message across to say, would you propose me to go on the committee? And I was on that Facebook thing, and all of a sudden, like, every alarm in the house went off. Something really that I'd never heard before went off, like lots of phones ringing at once. And it made me jump, to say the least, polite version. And what it was the lady in question that I'd sent a message to. This is typey, send, get some text back, typey, that's all that happens. But apparently you can press a little button that actually makes it like a phone call. It was the phone was ringing on my laptop. I didn't even know that was possible, because I've never needed to. I'm sure if I'd wanted to, I could have worked it out. But anyway, it turned into the equivalent of a phone call that went on about 2.5 hours. So when I say it's everybody else's fault, it's basically Christine's fault. Very enjoyable conversation, don't get me wrong, and hopefully got, you know, at least got me in line to get my Orchid Society membership. Oh, I can't get at that one, I really can't. And this is annoying because my little Cattleya Cernia shouldn't really get water on the leaves. It is prone to spotting, but there's nothing else I can do at the moment. I'm not going to get it down. right, that's that done. It either got wet or it didn't. Yes, so you know what was started off as my normal morning computer session ended at lunchtime, which took away my morning time basically when I get lots of certain things done, and they didn't get done. So we're now making up for it by actually watering all my mounts in however many minutes this video will be. Sorry I got me back to you, but this is an emergency for me. I don't like doing this on any form of regular basis because I'm not handling my plants. I'm not checking them for bugs, you know, rotten bits and things like that. I'm not worried about watering crevices or watering crowns or anything like that, not with these temperatures. And once the fans go back on, these plants are going to be dry in no time at all. No time at all. But when you do it this way, I'm watering them in a totally different order to what I would normally do. And one of the main criteria is to not have it dripping all over me, rather than anything else. Far more important. But like now, the plant I'm watering, directly behind it is an extension lead with sockets. So I've got to make sure I point downwards now, make sure that none of this spray goes anywhere but on the plant and doesn't go out the back where the wires are. Most of the plants that are in here are not anywhere near any electrics, so relatively safe, shall we say. I won't say 100% safe, but relatively. Everything up there. Oh, I'll just get that down. This is opening, and I'm hoping I'm not going to end up being disappointed. This is my Lindley. And that's not the colour I was expecting. I know they've only just opened this fraction, but I hope I haven't got some sort of named clone that's a bit dodgy. Because under normal circumstances, the blooms on Lindley are very similar to Jenkinsii in colour. Those are very, very pale. Very pale. But let's give them time. I've never had one bloom before, so you know, maybe they darken quite quickly. So we'll just put it back where it goes for now. Actually, that can come down from there. Perhaps the sun's washing the colour out of it, because now it's actually in bloom. I'd rather have it somewhere where I can see it a bit better, somewhere like that. Yeah, I do. Okay, that's better. That's betterer. Right, where'd I get to? It's the other thing, if you start doing things in a different order, you're going to miss things out. And this is naughty, but I'm going to see if it works. My, Dendrobium Cuthbertsonii types are not only getting watered, but they're getting soaked, the actual plant. Now here's another one up here. This pot up here, the water goes straight through it. And it's currently just starting some new growths, and obviously it's in full bloom, so that should not go dry. It's a shame these blooms are going already, isn't it? I mean, they haven't been there that long, they really haven't. And that's, the heat's doing that, or it's partly guilty. So again, my blooms going over early is somebody else's fault. But we do what we can. And sometimes, although it shouldn't, and it's not nice to be that way, sometimes blaming somebody else for something actually makes you feel better. It shouldn't do, should it? Oh, we're just starting to run out of fizz now. So I've done that much. I now need to hit the handle again. Whack the old pressure up. It's also, the water's getting low as well, so there's more air in there. Right, where did we get to? This is where I start getting wet now. Yeah, it sprays, depending on how much pressure and how much I squeeze the trigger. Yeah. Getting wet again. Right, we've got that many up here. Looks like a lot of greenery, but it's only a couple of plants. It is nice not to have to worry about where the drips go. I certainly wouldn't do this in cooler weather, wouldn't dream of it. Plus, this isn't that accurate. There's water going on leaves, in joints, in crowns, on pseudobulbs. The water's not going exactly where I would choose it to go. My big bowl can have some too. And keep this. My 3 large bowls, which is my Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, bulbophyllum, whichever way you say it. I'm not fussed either way, can't answer. My other bulbophyllum, Wilbur Chang, I think. And my Coleogyne cristata, which is starting to come into quite serious growth now. And all 3 of those big bowls got plants in them that this time of year should not go dry at the roots or around them. So they get quite a bit more water this time of year. And I've got anything else that dries quickly. My Renantheras, they can have another dribble. That's mainly for the aerial roots, because they had a good spray yesterday and the roots that are in the bark are still looking green. So we won't worry so much about those. And that, I think, is about it. Have I got any more that dry out fast? I don't think I have. No. So I can look through little gaps with a lance, so I can sort of get at things that are 2 or 3 plants deep without having to move anything. So I think that's about it. Bearing in mind I had a good go yesterday. So, a way of doing things. And then something I wouldn't normally do under any circumstances. Great way of getting the dust off. I'm just cooling the leaves down now. Everything's getting a bit of a soak. The plants now are getting wet. These plants have had no water on them for a very, very long time, and it's nice to refresh them now and again and just rinse the leaves off. And with the temperatures the way they are, this does them the world of good. They love it. It's like a rain shower. It's clean water. As I said, I wouldn't do this with feed. You leave spots, discolorations, and possibly cause some problems. Better just not to. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, it just refreshes the leaves, gives them a rinse off. Any dust or anything that's starting to settle, just gives them a bit of a wash. Doesn't do them any harm. Well, not this time of year with these temperatures. If we were having a cooler, shady period, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't get the plants wet. That is my normal way. Don't get the plants wet. But as I said, it helps keep the leaves cooler, refreshes them. It's like a shower. With things like the cattleyas, the only thing I would watch is the blooms, and don't get those wet. Just avoid the blooms. It can cause spotting, and sometimes it will set off some. Whoops! You know I said about going careful to watch where the electrics are. Whoops! Right, that I think will do. That will do. And then this thing just hisses at you when you're finished. So there we go, a strange day where nothing went as it would normally do. Notice I avoided the word planned. I could say nothing went as planned, but my Sunday is not planned, it's routine. It doesn't need planning. The only time it needs planning is the exception. And as you're all sitting on the coach at the moment, if you all look out of the window, there's a really nice view as you leave Wisley with the glass houses and the gardens, because we're on our coach trip at the moment. Grr, see, that got cancelled. That's somebody else's fault. It was supposed to be our Orchid Society coach trip today to Wisley glass houses and gardens. Another victim of the things we've had to sacrifice. But that's the way it has to be. I'm quite happy with it being that way for as long as is needed. And I think that's going to be an awful lot longer than some people think. Whether we're allowed out or not, I'm only going out when I absolutely have to. I'm not going out just because I'm allowed to. I will go out when I need to. And that at the moment is for food. That's it. I don't need to go out for anything else. Yeah. Guess who Muggins here? I had the need for my car, going back a bit now, so I had some trips to do. So I filled the car up at probably the point where petrol was at its most expensive. And now it's an awful lot cheaper and I've got a tank full of fuel that I don't need. See, that's somebody else's fault, straight away. That's not my fault. You getting the pattern for the day here? And yes, I am mucking about because somebody's going to take me seriously. Somebody always takes me seriously when I didn't mean it. So I'm going to get a little card on a stick that says joke or has a smiley face on it or something, just to make it clear for those who don't get it. And sometimes my humour doesn't travel so well, perhaps. I saw something incredibly funny today, but I can't tell you because I know what my audience is. And probably 3/4 of the population in the world would not appreciate the joke because it's on them. So I can't do that. I found it incredibly funny though. So did Christine, come to think of it. But yeah, so that's a quick way round because I can. And the reason I'm doing it today is I've still got some computer stuff to do and I lost a lot of time that would normally have been spread out evenly over quite a few tasks. And that time slot got used with one task, chatting to somebody. Enjoyable, not wasted time in any stretch of the imagination. And I also now know that I can. I didn't know I had that facility. And apparently if I switched my camera on, we could have actually been seeing each other while we were chatting. But bearing in mind I'm all scruffy today and I was still in my dressing gown, that wasn't the best of ideas. So just the telephone call, that'll do, that's fine. Yes, we don't need to visualise as well, we can imagine. So that's it today, no real orchid topic because there's not much going on. There is, but it isn't itemisable, if you know what I mean. There are a few things that are going to come into bloom soon. Some that just have, like the the Lindley is just opening. That is a strange colour. I hope that is going to darken. Yeah, so there's some stuff going on, but it's just the time of year when things grow. Some things are yet to bloom. Neither of the two Vandas have got spikes yet, not a sign. But they will come soon, and then we'll have some Vandas later in the year. A lot of my rhodostixum, a lot of my Latorias that I mounted to try and save them, to get their roots away from a soggy pot, they're all starting to grow now, slowly, but you know, so there's some little things going on. Jenkinsii is finished now, no blooms left. And there are Cattleyas maturing growths now, so buds will follow. I don't know whether I can see it from here, but my Laelia purpurata has got good buds growing in one sheath, and unfortunately that's the sheath I can see, and the one I can't see is the one that we're waiting to see if it's going to get buds or not. No, I can't get near it from here. Not without getting the plant down, which I'm not doing. Yeah, so there's things going on. I think the main task in here at the moment, if I can be bothered, which today I couldn't, and yesterday, come to think of it, it's 2 days on the trot where I could not be bothered to come out here and water. But I'm not prepared to let my plants suffer. So they had some water. Tomorrow I will get back to watering them properly, because the mounts tomorrow will need food. They've just had 2 flushes on the trot. Tomorrow they need some food, which I'm not doing with the sprayer. So we'll get back to it tomorrow, and I ought to at least water the holy clay pots, because I can't water those properly with a sprayer. I really haven't got a clue how much water's gone in those pots. It does need to pour through, it does need to be done properly. But it will have kept them going. So sometimes you have to take shortcuts. Sometimes things that you know should be done are just not going to get done. And the thing is with orchids, 95% of the time it will not be the end of the world. They'll put up with it. If you think in the wild, when you get a monsoon season, it rains every day, yeah, of course it does. In the real world, I'm sure there are some days where it rains for longer and harder, and other days where it doesn't rain much at all. Possibly not at all, just an odd day here and there. So weather is not that predictable. So you do what you can, and some days you might not get done as much as, or any of, what you needed to do. There'll be another day. Give it time. So say, I've known people that have panicked because they've had to go away for a couple of weeks in summer, and they come back expecting all of their plants to be dead, and only a few are. And some aren't looking so good, but they're not dead. They've managed to survive. Then you start looking after them again and they pick up. So we do fuss. We fuss too much. The thing we fuss most over, some of us, is feeding. Yeah, well, give them a bit of food now and again. Does it need to be more complicated and more technical? Well, if you think so, then make it so. If you don't, you'll probably be okay. Just talking to Chris this morning. When I lived at my previous house, I had mostly Phalaenopsis, and I think I had one Cattleya and one Oncidium type. I used to go away for weeks at a time. There's nobody else in the house, and I might not have even remembered to water them before I left because I'm busy packing my stuff to go away for a week. They got neglected, they got forgotten, and when I got home, I ran them under the tap. They got tap water. They probably didn't get any food very often, and if they got any food, they had a couple of drips of houseplant food that probably should have been 3 or 4 times as much. And did they die? No, occasionally one did. But given the neglect and the lack of care, the lack of effort and concentration and everything that they got, you'd think that they would all die, but they didn't. And I think we're inclined to get too deep in and fuss too much. Now, if that's what you want to do and you've got the time, great. But don't let it get to you if you haven't got the time. These things have a habit of surviving. They're good at it. So don't worry too much. Just, it's a hobby at the end of the day. If it's your living, that's a different thing. I'll bet you if it's your living, you take less care of your plants than people that it's a hobby. You have a look at an orchid nursery. I mean, I've watched some people in some orchid nurseries. You know, they walk into an area that you've got a job to see the other end of, thinking, God, I think it's a bit dry in here today. They turn a couple of taps on and the whole place gets absolutely soaking wet. And then they go and turn the taps off. Ah, that looks a bit better. Well, some of those plants might not have needed watering. Some of them could have been crying out for it and didn't get enough. Do they care? Yes, but no. Not enough to go round individual plants like we do. The whole lot get the same treatment per greenhouse, per glasshouse, per area. They either get some water or they don't. They either all get it or none of them get it. So that's how I've been yesterday and today. They will survive. As I say, most of the things are in growing mode at the moment. But yeah, there's a few oddities, and yeah, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I have no idea. But the one thing I am going to do is water my mounts properly, and probably the holy clay pots. And now I need to get the kit back on and get it back to some sort of normality. I suspect as I press the buttons it'll all just fire up. Although I think the sun's gone hazy. It doesn't feel as warm in here as perhaps I'm thinking it is. Oh, the fragrance on that is gorgeous. Right, so that's the extractor and the inlet fan, and I don't think they're going to come on. Hurricane Hector will definitely come on because it says it's about, oh, I don't know though. It will. Now it'll come on. There we go. Soon I'll have a little switch and I won't have to keep unplugging it and plugging it back in. And then the fans at the moment were manually turned off, so they manually get turned back on. And now everything will go buoyant again. The air movement feels fresher when it moves. So there we go. a fast watering session. That's a lot of mounts done in a short space of time, including little gaps to chat and things like that. So if you've got a big task and it's daunting and feeling a bit oppressive, sometimes it's difficult to start that sort of task. Well, just do some of it. Make a dent in it, as they say. Do some of it. And then do some more either later or the next day. And try not to leave things too long, but you'd be surprised how much you can get away with when it's orchids. Luckily. Lucky for me anyway at the moment. And the sun's now gone in. So Hurricane Hector won't need to be on too long. And I'm going to disappear in a cloud of fog that's going all up my back, and my shirt is now wet. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by, and don't forget, it's always somebody else's fault. And if it's not, you're probably not thinking it through properly. See you next time.